So, we have reached the third and final episode of Magical Twilight. Will this series end with a bang, or will it fizzle out like a bad card trick? Check it out with me after the title. Alright, so Magical Twilight is going to be coming to an end. And I'm going to be honest, I'm looking forward to it a little. I find this series to be kind of, I'm still it's not very exciting. It's not very interesting. Like, it's very cute. It's got some good comedy. So I'm curious to see if this can end on a high note or if it's going to kind of just end. Because sometimes that would happen. These shows didn't have much of an actual wrap up. The manga that it was based on was still going, or it just didn't have the budget. Or basically, these would be treated as a commercial for the game that it was based off of. So it's not uncommon for them to have a very definitive end. So there's a chance. I mean, I have a feeling they're going to wrap this storyline up, but it's probably not going to have a big definitive, like, this is the end, which is fine. This one is not based on a video game. This was based on a manga. I don't know how long it ran, but it's never made to the States. Probably because at that time you weren't getting a ton of adult content coming over here, manga-wise, unless it was from big names like Toshio Maeda. And a lot of the darker stuff is really what was getting picked up. So, you know, this is a series that, outside of being at Suncoast Video, kind of ran under the radar. And I'm wondering if it's going to have a nice send-off, or if this is just going to go back to being a show that I was very meh about. If you guys notice, my intros, like my actual title card, keeps changing. It's because I'm still getting figured out. I'm still learning how to edit certain things like audio. So hopefully this one actually has the working with the music and all of that. If not, you'll probably just get a silent title card, but I think I have it set up for this one. So yeah, let's get this third episode done and get Magical Twilight all wrapped up. I'll see you guys on the other side of the episode. I wish this thing was a little more sturdy. It would make it easier to get that disc in. Last time for you, little bud. I'm in. There we go. Close. Yeah. All right. We are good to go. I have now officially finished Magical Twilight. And I finished my first complete series on the H-Binder. So, did it meet my expectations? Yes. Now, I did enjoy it more than I think I did when I originally watched it, but it's still got issues. So, the third episode is much better than the second episode. We definitely get more with our side characters, and we'll get into them when we kind of do the plot rundown. It kind of balances out the sexual content with the story a little better this time around. You still have 3 scenes, but they're much more compact and they have more impact on the story. So it does wrap up exactly how I thought it would. Has a happily ever after. This is definitely structured as a romance. I'm going to put this back in the binder. This one survives another viewing. And I gotta say, overall, my experience with this series was fairly positive, and it was a good place to start. It's light, it's fluffy, it doesn't really bring up any dark or serious topics. So, on that regard, I think it was a great entry-level series as I start to go through everything that I have in my binder. Because I know I have stuff in there that's going to get to me. General plot. We really focus in more on the mother and daughter who own the inn. And I have to pull up their names. So, the daughter is Minori. I do remember that. And the voice actress who does her voice in the dub went with the nom de porn Beef Swellington. And then her mother is Okami. So Okami really got the focus in the last episode where she had her tryst with Tsukasa and had her moment of like reawakening as a woman in on a rock. This time we focus more on her daughter Minori, who is trying to prove herself as an adult. She wants to be a pop star, and her relationship with her mother is very tense. Lots of family drama. There's a couple moments that kind of just gave me TV movie of the week vibes. Nothing here is played super seriously, or if it is, it's kind of moved through quickly. So Minori decides, after seeing her mom and Tsukasa, that the key to her mom accepting her as an adult is for her to sleep with Tsukasa. Because apparently that is the solution to everyone's problems within the world of Magical Twilight. They need to hop on Tsukasa's magic wand and he will fix their issues. While that is going on, Chipple and Tsukasa are just continuing to have their nice little romantic getaway. Although Chipple's not feeling so great because she can't go into the hot springs. Feels like she's ruined the trip. But Tsukasa is cheery and kind of dense, so he doesn't really care. He's like, we'll make it work. There's a festival in town. We'll go do that. They're off doing their own thing. Irene is romancing this guy whose name is Seiichi. I'm looking at the screen. I'm cheating. I cannot remember this guy's name. He's the redhead from the last one that she slept with. And she is kind of trying to help build up his confidence, but at the same time trying to use him to make Tsukasa jealous. Tsukasa is not jealous. He does not care. But this guy is a riot because he is kind of an asshole. So he just flies off the handle all the time. Every time he runs, but he does it in a weird way. I expected a fist fight. What I got was table tennis. And it was a big, tense anime fight done through table tennis where they're yelling out special moves as they play. And of course the girls are cheating and helping each of their guys have giving them magical powers. And one of the moves I had to stop because one of the guys just yells out, Thunderball! Or was it Thunderballs? It was Thunderballs. And I just heard that and I was like, oh, damn it. They let that. If that mood had been carried throughout that mood of the dub had been carried throughout the entire dub, I actually think the show would have been better. It needed a little improvisation, a little pull away from following the script too closely. It needed a little more fun. It is cute. It's romantic. If you want a light, sweet little show, it's that. So the big thing is, the big twist is that Chipple finds out that Tsukasa slept with Minori's mom, Okami. And she decides she is going to help Minori, not by letting her sleep with Tsukasa, but by making her forget that her mother is her mother and making her mother forget that Minori is her daughter. And the spell to do this is forbidden. And if a witch does this spell, she is instantly erased from the mind of the human that she is supposed to be helping. So Chipple, in her stupidness, decides it's a great idea to do this. Even though she is literally told, why can I not remember her name? Oh my God, Irene. This is how this is how bland this show is. I literally just stopped watching this and I'm having a hard time recalling the plot. So basically, to speed through this whole thing, Chipple does the spell. It works, but both women are horribly lonely because they don't have each other. So they realize that they need their family. And because of this, because Chipple used the forbidden spell, Irene has to erase Tsukasa's memory, which breaks Chipple's heart. And he does end up going to sleep with Minori after that. And there's a lot of drama and then everything gets resolved because Chipple gives Tsukasa a watch, which restores his memory for some reason. And then they have sex and they're happy and they stand naked watching fireworks. And it's cute. It's perfectly cute. That's the best way to describe it. The fun stuff really is the Irene stuff. So the Irene side of the story with her guy is she doesn't really love this guy, but she's trying to be nice to him. So she ends up, there's a Star Trek joke. When she breaks up with him, she decides she's going to pretend that she's actually a space traveler, and then she does a beam me up Scotty joke and vanishes, and he's like, I will never be afraid of women again. And she's like, damn, I'm turning into a good person. This is a problem. So that part was fun, but that's the smaller side story of the episode. If the plot doesn't sound all that interesting or I'm having trouble describing it, it's because it's not all that interesting and there's not a lot to describe. the drama that does happen happens so quickly and is resolved so quickly that it has no real impact. And I do understand what this show is. Trust me, I do. I just watched it. Invisible dongs and all. So I get it. But I have seen shows like this done better. I don't think the show needed longer. I think 3 episodes is more than enough. I think the story just needed a little more tension. It needed something. And part of that lies with Tsukasa as a main character. Throughout the entire series, he is so generic and bland. And I get why people like him. He's not unlikable. He's not a perv. He's not an ass. He's generally very nice to the people around him. He's respectful of the women around him. He is not running around like trying to grab anyone or anything like that. He is a nice, normal guy. But he has no personality outside of being nice and normal. So he's not interesting to watch, and we spend a lot of time with him. And Chipple, while she is a better developed character and definitely has like an angry streak, and some of the fights between her and Irene are actually really funny, in the end, she's just reduced kind of to the lovesick witch who will do anything for Tsukasa. And there's just something missing there. This is obviously the whole show, like Can Bunny, which... Again, I keep bringing that show up, and most of you guys are probably like, what the hell is Can Bunny? It's a similar show done by Pink Pineapple around the same time that is based off of a long-running dating sim series. And it has a similar structure because they're both inspired by My Goddess. Harem shows like that are not new. They probably existed before this, but My Goddess was a big deal at the time that these were coming out. Now, Can Bunny is more directly inspired, but this one still does have its roots in that same kind of structure. The difference between, and I'll be honest, I love Oh My Goddess, but you have the same problem there. Belle Dandy is a very kind of overly sweet, kind of bland character. And that blandness is all of Magical Twilight. It needed more humor. It needed something else. It needed to feel zany. And I'm not going to say... It needed energy. It just felt like the people making this, while the art and everything looks stunning, the animation is solid. This is a solid production. The people who worked on this are skilled. They know what they're doing. And if you look at the cast lists and the crew list for these over on Anime News Network and their encyclopedia, you could see that these people a lot of them went on to work on very major shows. Pink Pineapple in the 90s did foster a lot of talent. But for this show, it just seemed like they didn't have any real zest for it. They didn't have a feeling for wanting to make it something exciting or special. And I hate picking on it because it's not bad. And I'm sure there's some people out there who love this because it is cute and it is sweet. It is not necessarily wholesome because obviously there are sex scenes. But it is definitely something where you could watch this. It's the definition of couples hentai. You could watch this with your partner if your partner is not into this stuff. Although I will say my husband watched episode 2 with me and he laughed about 2 times and the rest of the time he was just like, this is kind of dull. He agreed with me. Now, obviously, we're not there for the spicy content because we're gay, but the spicy content is so minimal compared to some of the other stuff that people have seen these days, and it's so tame that is not going to be the draw. It's not. And also, the character designs are fairly dated, so I love them. They bring me right back to, my teen years and my young 20s when I was finding all of this stuff. I think I found this one in my teens. But they also they're very simple body types, pretty close to realistic, although everyone kind of leans on the thin side. Everyone has hot pink nipples. Don't know why. They are neon. Again, you should see someone about that if they're neon. If they could glow, there's a problem. But overall, I didn't dislike the series, and episode 3 was definitely an improvement over episode 2. I was more engaged. But Magical Twilight, while a great way to start this show, is definitely, for me, just kind of meh. And it's going to stay meh. Probably, I don't think there's anything that could change my mind. Now, I have to make a correction. In the intro, I mentioned that I don't think the manga ever got released here. It did, or at least partially. It looks like 3 single-issue comic books of Magical Twilight at 36 pages each were released. There was only one actual collected volume released in Japan, so it might be the complete set. And it was released by Graphics. They're not available anymore. And there was never actually like a compilation of all of them. There was never a bound, like a manga actual like volume released for them. It was just the 3 issues. The art is cute. I couldn't really find much more of it. And I'm not spending $50 because it looks like it follows pretty much the same plot. So I wasn't blown over by the plot or the characters in this one. I thought Irene was fun, and I thought there were some good jokes. But yeah. I mean, it's middle of the road. And if you're interested, if it sounds like something that you're like, yeah, I know he didn't like it, but it sounds fun. It sounds light. I can use that. You can find it. It's not hard to find. I'm pretty sure it's out of print because I think it was released by, although Kitty might have it now. But a lot of these titles are out of print. But if you hunt around online, you're going to find them. They're not impossible to find. And if you are curious about hentai, if you're curious about that world of anime, this is not a bad place to start. This is actually kind of the perfect place to start because it's so soft and light. It gives you an idea if you're comfortable with the material. Because if you go toward not all modern stuff, but a lot of the more popular series or the series that you hear about all the time tend to have a little more shock content. This one is entry level perfection for that. That is the best recommendation I could give it. It is entry level hentai for those who are unsure if this is a genre that you're interested in. It doesn't include a lot of the tropes that pop up in other shows, even more cutesy shows that could be offensive or triggering for some people. So for that, yes, it's perfect. If you want something that is not overly reliant on erotic content and does try and have some fun with the story, it does do that. This is like sitcom level humor, but it works. There are moments that I actually laughed. I did enjoy it. And the dub is not unwatchable. The subs are fine. I've watched it sub. The voice actors all do a wonderful job. And it's a fun show in that regard. And that's something that Pink Pineapple did really well. And even if I don't love this series, I see the value in what they created. And I could see the talent and skill that Pink Pineapple had when creating these light, fun shows. And from looking around at what their current output is, yes, they have the darker stuff, but it looks like they're still doing light, fun shows. They're more graphic, they're more explicit, but they still have the light, fun plots. And for some people, that's what they want. They want that over something like Oni Tensei, where you're dealing with a lot of dark subject matter and violence and sexual violence. So this is something perfect entry level. Perfect entry level. And if you just want something goofy, old school, and spicy, yeah, it fits that bill too. But I am happy to be moving on. That is the one plus with a lot of these series. They are short. They're 3 episodes and then you're done, or 4 episodes. I am dreading when I do try and tackle something like Night Shift Nurses because that first series alone is like 10 episodes plus 2 specials. So that one I'm trying to figure out my schedule. I actually am trying to figure out a viewing schedule. That one is a really hard one to fit in. But I don't think I'm going to be doing that one episode by episode if I do tackle it. I'm going to do the same thing when I tackle Bible Black. That's actually already on my schedule. So, wrapping this up. Magical Twilight, very middle of the road for me, but a great entry-level hentai title if that is a subject that interests you. And it is one that I have kept in my collection from VHS over to DVD. So obviously I don't find it offensive, and I return to it every once in a while, so I don't hate it. There's a curiosity about it, I guess, where I'm just like, oh, do you remember that show? Yeah, and I watch it. I enjoy myself. I think it's goofy, and then I'm done. So we'll see if that carries over, because next week we start a new series. It's another 3 episodes, so we're not going to be digging into anything super long, but we are going to be looking at Isaku, which is a very dark title in a very long-running series based off of a visual novel or eroge by Elf that has a bunch of students getting trapped in a school by the titular Isaku, who then traps them and finds ways to humiliate and torture them. So That one we are going from like light and fluffy into mind break territory, maybe. We're definitely dealing with some hazy to non consensual stuff. I am getting reminders of just, I read the book Haunting Adeline for my book club at work, and I'm getting like, that's coming right back to me. Like, oh no, we're going back into this territory. But luckily, it's 3 episodes. I wanted to start, it's the first series in the Isaku. It's like Isaku, Shusaku, and Kisaku. It starts there, and it is one of the only ones where the main character is not the pervert. So that was one of the reasons I was like, okay, I want to try this one out. No guarantee I'm going to go past that series, but we'll see. We'll see after I watch it. So next week, Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be dropping Isaku Episode 1. So join me as we dive into something that I am going to try and figure out how to talk to you guys about without sounding really insensitive or over censoring myself, because that's going to be a fun one. All right, guys. As I always say on my other channel, love what you love, enjoy what you're reading and watching, and have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.